Hi, I'm Andy Costello, co-owner of Venture Commercial Real Estate.
And I am Shanna O'Brien with Cascadian Northwest, and we are your broker brains.
And we're really glad that you're joining us today because we're going to talk about assistance, when to hire a TC, a VA, a personal assistant, an admin assistant, and what kind of that thought process might look like for you when you think you might be ready to bring on some help to help you do more deals, be more productive, get more work done.
Yeah, as an independent contractor, every real estate agent is their own business.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to get to that point where you realize I could do better if I had more help, but they're not free. And that becomes the big problem is I could do more if I had more help, but I don't want to pay anybody for anything. I hear so many agents who are like, I'm not paying for a TC.
Right. And I think on the residential side, you guys have it a little easier because the TC model tends to be that they don't get paid until you close the deal.
Right.
So it minimizes a little bit of the risk that you're not necessarily taking on a salary. Like I have a salaried assistant that, we have to pay whether we're working or not.
Right.
So I think that that's one of those things that you have to figure out where you are in your business.
So when did you decide when you were in residential real estate, when did you decide that it would be beneficial to your business to pay a TC?
So I realized I was working like 60 hours a week, networking and doing all the things. And then I was coming home so tired. And then I was like, man, I got to do the paperwork now. And the paperwork was what was paying my bills. So it was like, oh, okay, I think I need to figure out a way to leverage my time so I could keep prospecting, keep getting more deals, but then having somebody in the back end help that I could just send a text to and be like, hey, could you follow up on this? And that really could help me leverage my time while I was still trying to build my business. How about for you?
It was pretty much the same thing. I felt like when I still had younger kids, I always felt like I need an assistant, like I have to do real estate, but I'm not going to pay somebody to help me because this is what you do. You juggle everything and you're supposed to, I can bring home the bacon and fry it up in a pan. Do you remember? You're too young to know those commercials. But so it was like kind of almost like a point of pride that I didn't need to pay somebody to do paperwork that I know how to do inside and out in my sleep. But as I got busier and realized I'm better at being out in the field and making connections, it became worth it. And one of the calculations you have to make is, what are you worth per hour?
Yes.
I mean, when you close a deal, and everybody who's ever closed more than 5 real estate transactions will be able to go back and pinpoint one transaction where their hourly rate was minimum wage by the time you factor in what a shit show that deal was. And I mean, we all have one where it's like, yeah, I made nothing by the time I drove to Woodland 47 times.
Right.
But you have to kind of, discard, what is that with the bell curve, and you kind of take out the outliers and you go with your average and then try to maximize. You make that list of what are the things that only I can do in my business.
Right.
And paperwork for most of us is generally not one of them.
I think it's important to still know how to do the paperwork.
100%.
But yeah, leveraging your time. I think for us, when we transitioned to having the admin assistant, it was, moving away from more of like the contract per transaction, was when we just needed more help on like the back end outside of the contracts, trying to build the business.
Well, when you're doing the level of even just like direct mail that you guys are doing, that's like a whole process for somebody to manage that.
Yes. Yeah. So a lot of stuff that, again, I was like spending a lot of out of work time doing, but this kind of thing is like what I'm really good at doing. So really getting into the details of the business and the prospecting and the relationship with the clients is where I excel. So it's like, that's where I want to spend my time. I don't make money on the paperwork.
Right.
I've already made the money trying to put the deal together. And then you just hope to keep it together so that you get paid at the end is really what we're working towards.
And it's just knowing where to put your time. I mean, leveraging your time appropriately. And I'm just going to throw some people under the bus right now, and they're going to know who they are when I say this. Making the most perfect flyer ever made in Canva for 3 hours is not work. You cannot count that as you're doing work.
Correct. Yes. That's not producing anything.
No.
What is it? Like perfect is the enemy of good or something. Like you just have to throw something out there. Like when we did our first episode, it's like, let's just throw this out there. Let's just see what it is. We'll tweak, we'll get better, we'll improve as we do each episode. And I think with each transaction, the more skill and even if you've been in the business 20 years, you're probably still learning something new on every deal.
Yeah, but you don't need to personally invest yourself into those little micro details that are only going to be important to you, like the perfect shade of purple in your background.
Nobody notices.
Nobody cares.
Right. And at that point, you might as well look at hiring a VA. And we were talking a little bit about before we started recording was we're probably not the experts on a VA because we've not ever had really much success.
Well, we experimented with a VA once, and it was a fail.
Yes. So
and it was our fail because this was a VA who worked with another realtor who apparently was like bringing him business left and right, and it didn't work for us.
Yeah. So I think you have to be willing to spend the time to get them up to speed. And now there's so many options. For me, it makes me a little hesitant because it's like, how much time and energy am I going to build into this person that may or may not work out? Whereas for me, if they're here, they're in my office, the hallway conversations, for me is just way more efficient. But there certainly is a time and a place for a VA.
Yeah. I mean, and I know people in all kinds of industries, not just real estate, who use VAs for all manner of things. So if you make that list of what are the things that only you can do for your business, what are the things somebody else can do, what's the most efficient way to get them done, a VA might be right up your alley.
Right. And I think you just have to be prepared to spend the time and the energy to figure that out, maybe go through some different VAs. And for me, that just was not something that I felt like was a good use of my time.
Yeah. And if you like being in Canva and being creative, that's okay. That can be your hobby, but you can't keep talking about how busy you are in real estate.
Right.
Because you're making flyers and you've redesigned your business card 42 times.
Well, and I think that's the key point too, is like, if you're going to leverage your time by bringing this person in to help you, then you have to be using that time to go do something that's income producing activity, whether that's prospecting or, door knocking or whatever that is, that you're going to go spend more of your time doing that, more direct mail, more phone calls, more emails, to leverage your time. But if you're just going to hire somebody so that you can just have more downtime and not work as much, then obviously it's not really going to help you.
Well, that's a different phase of your career.
Right.
If you can do that, that's not who we're talking to.
Right.
We're talking to the people who are still trying to build and grow, and how do you bring in help? And if you bring in help and you pay for it and you don't leverage that new opportunity that you've created for yourself, you're wasting your money.
Right. 100%. I would agree with you about that. So yeah, just like anything else, there's so many ways in real estate we can spend our money on things, products, coaching, gimmicks, get rich quick schemes, and they don't pan out. So really trying to understand where you're putting your time and your money into, and making sure that there's an ROI by hiring somebody and bringing them on, that they are going to help you leverage your time to do more business.
And tracking it. If you're not tracking it, you don't know if it's working or not.
Right.
And so many people don't track their numbers. They don't track, how did I find this client? Where did I meet this client? Have I ever gotten a deal from my BNI group that I've paid a lot of money for the last couple of months? Like, you've got to be tracking. And if you bring on an assistant or a VA or even a TC, is it building your income on the things that you kept on your to-do list? Are you doing better and more of those things? And is it producing?
Yeah, I think that's really important. Just like anything else in our business, we got to be paying attention to the numbers.
Yeah. So many agents are afraid of their numbers, though. Yeah. So many agents don't know their numbers.
Yes.
I get like that sometimes.
Well,
but
it happens to the best of us.
But I have to force myself.
Right.
I work with a coach, and we recently, she needed a number from me, and I'm like, I don't want to look. I don't want to look at that number. I don't want to know how much I spent on that this year.
No.
But I had to, and it was a nice wake-up call. So you have to know your numbers. You have to track. And that's our little helpful tip for agents that are trying to grow, is know when to bring in some help, but make the most of the time that you've created for yourself by bringing in the help.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Well, thank you so much for watching this week. Take care of yourself, and if you can, someone else too. We'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Bye.